Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, unless of course you're new here, in which case hi, hello. My name is Ashley and welcome to my random little corner of the internet. As you can tell from today's title, we are doing both our November and December wrap up because I forgot to do one in November. It happens. We are still in this weird phase because bulk filming. If you know anything about recording videos for YouTube, typically sometimes you do a lot of videos in one day. I'm getting a couple out of the way, so I'm still in this nice little lit area of my bathroom because there's this beautiful window right here that does do great daylighting. It's just my camera doesn't know what to do with it, so it's freaking out a little, but it's okay. Hopefully I can fix that when I go to edit it. Alright, so I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books in, like, combined between November and December. I do have my story graph pulled up so I can remember what I rated them, because sometimes I don't remember. I might have loved it in my head, and then I didn't rate it a 5, I rated it a 4. We'll see what happens. Okay, all I know... No, we're going to wait for that one. We're going to talk on that last one. Okay, so I'm going to try and start... I'm going to go in order from, like, when I read them. So the first book will be the first book I read way back in November, and then I'll end with the last book I've read for the year. As I'm filming this, it is December 31st. Technically, I have, like, 30 pages left of this last book. I don't think it's going to change the rating. But we'll see. If I do, I will insert a video of myself saying that, oh my god, the ending was just phenomenal and it completely changed the rating. But let's start at the beginning of November, where I actually read a really good book. So first up, we're going to talk about Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. This was adorable. I absolutely loved it. So we're following, I'm bad at names. His name is Gav. I think his name is Gavrax, like Gavrax. And he is like this really bad guy. He's like the Dark Lord, what do they call him? The Dread Lord. And he is lording over this whole little village and everybody's terrified of him and everything like that. However, he doesn't remember who he is. He has no clue. Something happened. He was supposed to be getting rid of some, like, memories of some ritual that's going on, and instead he got straight amnesia. No idea who he is. No idea where he is. No idea who any people in his castle are, including the princess that he kidnapped. No idea. But it was so cute. It was, like, just all of the hijinks they got into. Of course, there's a cute little romance between him and the princess that he kidnapped. You know, whatevs. And the people that live in his castle, like his servants and stuff like that, are just, I didn't do my nails. Oh well, life. But yeah, no, I loved it, and I gave it a 5-star because of it. I do think I physically read this one. That's what my story graph's telling me. I physically read this one. It's a beautiful edition that I got at Barnes & Noble. It has the black sprayed edges and the stenciled here with little skulls. It's very cute. But yes, I loved it. I don't know if it made it into my top 10 this year. That video is coming. However, it is a 5-star read because it's great and I highly recommend it. Next up, not such a great read. I read Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. It had a potential. It was great. So the main character, again, really bad with names. The main character's name is Nicole, and she has a magical power that, she can kill other supernaturals. However, her family has said, hey, let's keep that a secret. We're not going to tell people about that. Because if you do tell people about that, then the Imperials are going to come get you, and they're going to use you as a slave, and we don't want that. And so, like, theoretically, it sounds great. And even, like, there's supposed to be, like, an enemies to lovers situation going on, and that would have been great. But it's first off, Fated Mates. I'm not a fan of Fated Mates. So spoiler alert, Fated Mates. I don't like it. So that, when that randomly popped up, that bothered me a lot. And then the fact that it's just one of those tropey tropes where, hey, the whole world is ending. Like, literally right now. We are supposed to be fighting. We're supposed to be fighting this guy who's trying to destroy the world, but let's stop and make out for a moment. Let's stop and profess our love for each other. I get it, sure, but no. And then there was almost like again, spoilers, there was almost a surprise pregnancy trope, and it would have pissed me off and I would have stopped reading. because why? But I don't think it is. It might pop up in the second book because apparently there's going to be a second book, and people love it, and more kudos to you. My Storygraph is saying I gave it a 3 because for most of the book, I'm going to say 3/4 of the book, I wasn't having a bad time. It was okay. It was just the end of the book that was starting to piss me off, but I still wanted to know how it ends. At some point I'm going to do a video of that too, of like how I rank it's probably going to be a short, of how I rank my books, or how I review, how I star them. A 3-star is that it was a book. It was there. It was good enough that I wanted to know how it ended. 2-star would be like I pushed myself. Like I didn't care, but I needed to know how it ended enough that I pushed myself to the end. I don't give 1 stars because if it was that bad, I DNF'd it. I had to teach myself that if life's too short for bad books, to waste your time reading books that you weren't enjoying. I enjoyed this one enough that I finished it without forcing myself. Like I wanted to know how it ended in a positive way, therefore it's a 3-star. And I did do the audiobook, and the narrator was fine. The narrator was great. I'm going to put her name here on the screen. I don't know why I'm leaning that way. Let's lean this way. I'm going to put her name here up on the screen. She was fine. She was great. And I do actually believe it was dual narrated. I want to say we had both our main characters, Nicole and Kian? Yeah, he's our male protagonist. I want to say it was a dual narration for both characters, which obviously makes it even better. I do enjoy when narrations do that. So yeah, like the narration wasn't bad. She was great at reading. They were great at reading. I just didn't love the way the story ended. Next up, however, we're going to do this one's a 4-star. The Gentleman by Forrest Leo. I had no idea what this book, literally the prompt for this book was read a book you know nothing about. I picked this up at a Dollar Tree years ago because I thought the cover looked cute or like intriguing, and then the story itself looked intriguing. This man who is a poet, he's lost his muse essentially. He doesn't know what he's writing or he can't write, and so he contacts the devil to take his wife. Little misleading. I'm going to throw that out there. So I feel like I should just put a blanket spoiler at the beginning because I'm really bad at giving reviews without spoilers. But he doesn't it's very confusing. He marries this woman, and it's a situation where, it's set in, I want to say 1920s England, or 1920s, it doesn't say. Victorian London, there we go. It's set in Victorian London. So, women are just married off to further their family. The main character is actually running out of money, so he has to find a woman who has money. He also is responsible for his younger sister, who she does come into play a little bit. But he has gotten to the point where he kind of thinks he hates his wife. Ever since they got married, he hasn't written anything. She avoids him a lot of the time. She likes to have all these parties at the house, and he's like, whoa, hold on, I don't like parties. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And so one day they're having a party, and this man shows up in his study, and apparently he's the devil. So he's there, and then the main character, let me stop calling him the main character. His name is Lionel. His name is Lionel Savage. And he's talking to him, and he's like, my wife really sucks, and I wish I could get rid of her, and blah, blah, blah. Well, and then his sister shows up and says, hey, your wife is missing. Or the butler shows up. I think it's the butler shows up. And hey, your wife is missing. So he thinks the devil took her. I say that he thinks. Because we get to the end and no, it was a whole, plot played out by her. But the devil it's really him. And I was very confused. But it was still fun. It was a fun ride. And then, the wife's older brother, his name is Ashley. And he's this awesome, cool adventurer guy. And so, physically, I've learned that not everybody sees pictures. But in my head, I'm picturing Bolin as Nuktuk from Legend of Korra. This guy, right? But then the way that the narrator is reading him, I'm thinking Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberry. So a really jacked Nigel Thornberry? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, so this is what I was picturing for Ashley. But yeah, no, all in all, it was actually really cute, even if I was a little confused of where the devil actually came into it. But like figuring everything out, trying to find his wife, learning that, wait, maybe I actually do love my wife. Because, you know, men, it was actually really fun. It was a great read. I did, like, obviously, since I was saying the narrator, I did listen to this on audiobook, and it was great. Next up was a sequel to a book that made me cry when I read it the first time. We've got Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune, another beautiful Barnes & Noble edition. I did physically read this one, and I loved it just as much as the first one. There is a lot more, it's not, I wouldn't say political, but kind of political. But we ended the first book with, I know their names on this one, Arthur and Linus. Yes? Yes, Linus. We end with them getting engaged, and it's all going to be happy and fun, and they want to adopt all the kids at the orphanage. There's 7 of them. And 5, 7? I'm going to stick with 7. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen. And they want to adopt all the kids. Well, if anybody's ever gone through adoption or knows anything about adoption, that's not an easy task. And the fact that these are 7 of the most dangerous children in the world because of their powers, the court gets involved. And then on top of the fact that Arthur himself is also a very dangerous being a phoenix. Lots of red tape. And then there's one lady who really just wants to take away all the kids, and then that's terrifying, but they all band together in the cutest way because they're adorable, and they're kids. They're just kids. But it's great. And Arthur and Linus are adorable. And again, with the fan casting, if I was fan casting just for Arthur and Linus, I'm thinking Domhnall Gleeson as Arthur, and I'm torn, because like he's supposed to be like a huskier, chunkier man for Linus, but I just, in my head, I kept seeing Martin Freeman. I don't know the age difference here, but I think it would be adorable. I don't know. It's such a cute, cozy read, and I love it so much. So yeah, 5 stars for, if that wasn't evident, 5 stars for Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Next up, we did actually finish this in the month of November. We read 98%. I think we read like the first chapter in October, but that's fine. So we have The Tyrant's Tomb by Rick Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Trials of Apollo series. And I don't want to talk too much about it because of the fact that it is the 4th book. People die. I will leave that out. I won't tell you who dies. People die. And it was sad, but it was great. All of Rick Riordan's books are great. It was a 5-star. And then that physically read audio, it's not really audiobook. My husband reads them, and it's great, and I should film him one time because he does voices and things, and it's great. Next up, we have The Vanquishers by Kaylin Bayron. I think we are getting in. No, this is the last book I read in November. No, this is not the last book I read in November. There was 2 books I finished on the same day. So this was an audiobook that I read, and it was really cute, and it's about vampires. Like, vampires used to exist in the world, but then the Vanquishers was like a crime-fighting group that got rid of the vampires, but maybe they didn't, and maybe they just smushed them underground and told everybody that they were dead, which is always great, right? Just put a Band-Aid on the problem and hope it goes away. But the kids are like the descendants of the Vanquishers, and they just think, like, it was at their parents' time. And so they don't know. They know that one of their grandmas was a Vanquisher, and so she's really cool. But they have this little group of friends, and they are super, like, you know, they love the lore of everything like that. And unfortunately, their parents are like the ones that are still like, oh no, we have to have garlic in the house, and we have to have all these, you know, we have to be prepared because of the vampires. And everybody else is like, yeah, that was forever ago. Like, we can chill. And their parents are like, no, we're not going to chill. And then they get a new friend. He's like new kid to school, and they go to the skating rink, and then something happens to him. Surprise, surprise. He turned into a vampire. Because vampires aren't gone. I did kind of guess some twisty twists. It happens. It is a children's book, or a middle grade book, but I love everything by Kaylin Bayron. I need to read the other Vanquishers books. I just found out recently that my daughter is going to get to meet Kaylin in March, and it's going to be a school field trip type thing for if they read in Texas, they have something called the Lone Star reading list, where they have 20 books picked out. I don't know if it's Texas, like, author. I don't think it's Texas authors, but, like, it's just 20 books over a wide array of genres and things like that. And The Vanquishers is one of them, as well as, obviously, other books. But there's 2 other authors that in March, our district is going to get to go if they read so many of these Lone Star books. And my daughter needs to take a test when she gets back after Christmas break, and that'll be the last one that she needs to go. And she's already told the librarian that, hey, if we need chaperones, my mom really wants to go because she's obsessed with Caitlin Barron. I will be so sad if my daughter gets to meet her, and I don't. I will be very sad. But it is what it is. I didn't say that I did rate that 5 stars. I don't think I've ever rated Caitlin anything lower than that, because I do love everything she writes. Next up was a really cute way to end November. It was a great way to, like, start the holiday season of December. Just kick it off, was The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rosh. It's adorable. We have the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween, and the Prince of Christmas isn't doing great. Like, he's not the one set up to be the next Santa. He is the second son. And so he tries to do his best, and he tries to help out, but at the same time he doesn't care. That's a lie. He does care. He cares a whole lot about Christmas. It's just that he's the goof off that everybody thinks he is. And at one point in time, at the beginning of the book, he tries to do something good. And he tries to grant every wish in this town. In this one small little thing, he points to the map and he's like, we're going to grant every Christmas wish in this town. And it doesn't go well. Because if you've ever seen, like, Bruce Almighty, where he answers every single prayer, and then, like, the world ends almost because you can't answer every prayer because some prayers are contradictory. Same thing happened with the wishes for Christmas. And so things were going bad, and so he's at a bar that he goes to near his school and things like that, and his brother's trying to cheer him up, and his friend's trying to cheer him up, and because all this was happening, he walked out of his girlfriend's birthday party, and so they broke up, and she was a princess of Easter, and then he goes into an alley, and he meets this dark, mysterious man, and they make out for a minute. And so then, like, the rest of the year, he's thinking about this man and who he could be. And then he gets home and things like that, and it's the Christmas break of, like, the following year, because he does go to, like, college in the real world. And he goes, and he has to come home because of Christmas in general, and they have to do the whole, like, royal family of Christmas situation. And then his best friend is the other princess of Easter, like his ex-girlfriend's sister. They've been best friends forever. She's also in love with the brother that's going to be able to be Santa when Dad steps down. However, Dad decides that he's going to make it to where they have to get married, to form an alliance between the Easter and Christmas. As I forget what they call it, the winter holidays or something like that, even though Easter is not technically a winter holiday, it's more of a spring holiday. It's literally the point of, like, rebirth and spring, but whatever. They talk about that in here too, that it's not technically a winter holiday, but it is what it is. However, enter Prince of Halloween, who also, spoiler alert, is the mysterious, attractive man that he met in the alley last year. And so it's a pseudo love triangle, but it's really not, because the Princess of Easter likes Big Brother, and the brother that is supposed to be engaged and courting her doesn't, because he wants the Prince of Halloween, and the Prince of Halloween doesn't want to be there at all, except for now that he realizes, hey, wait, that's that guy too, and then it turns out maybe Santa's not a good guy, which is really sad. But things get fixed. Of course it does. Of course it does. It's a cute rom-com. There are 2 scenes of spice. I kind of skimmed them, but they were awkward spice scenes because randomly they would start talking about the Prince of Halloween's dead sister. Like, what? It was awkward. It was weird. I don't really like spice anyway. I'll get through, like, a scene and be like, okay, that was good for me. Moving on. I did skim these purely because it was weird. Like, you're getting hot and heavy, and then let me really kill the mood for you. Yeah, it was, but it was still fun. It was great, and I did give it a 5 star because other than those 2 weirdly awkward scenes, it was fun. Like, it was the best way to describe it. I know I've described some of them as fun, but like this was just a lot of fun because there was just, it was almost like a reality show because the fact that they were being filmed because they are like the royal families of these holidays and things like that. So all of the dates that they were going on were being filmed, and it's just a lot of fun and a lot of going behind people's backs to have fun because royal families are sticks in the mud type situation. Yeah, but it was great. It was a good read. It was great for holidays. It was definitely more of a Christmas book than a Halloween book. Like, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas could be both. This was more of a, definitely a Christmas book. All right, next one. Another 5-star read. I did read so many good 5 stars in these 2 months. The Gifts That Bind Us by Caroline O'Donoghue. This is the second book in the series, and I loved it just as much as the first. So at the end of the first book, they all got actual powers. So our quad here of friends got actual powers. And the thing is that there's a group in the first book, I can never remember what they're called, and it's not going to be like on the, oh, it is. It's called the Children of Brigid, and they want to get rid of these people. They want to get rid of the ones who have powers. But when it kind of turns out that they don't want to necessarily get rid of them, they just want the power. There was one guy that was following around, causing all kinds of havoc in the first book, and like literally attacking the main character's sister and her wife because gay people aren't okay either in the eyes of God. Like they're a very religious group, the Children of Brigid, because I think that's it does take place in Scotland, Ireland. One of those. That sounds terrible. I highly doubt in the 96 subscribers that I have any subscribers in either of those 2 countries, and I'm very sorry that I never know which city they belong in. And like it doesn't say it on the back at all. The main character's name is Maeve. Is that a Scottish or an Irish name? Sitting me popping in to say that I googled it, and they are in Kilbig, Ireland. Probably not pronouncing that correctly, but they are in Kilbig, Ireland. I am probably going to ramble for a little bit longer on whether or not I don't know the difference between Scotland and Ireland cities. But yes, they are in Ireland. Sounds Scottish, but I could be wrong. Anyway, there's people start forgetting things, like her boyfriend legitimately just forgets that they have powers. And so he does. He forgets he has powers and stops having powers. And then there's like a teacher who isn't really a teacher. She works for the Children of Brigid. And then there's like a well of power that's in the school that they go to. There was a lot happening, but I loved every minute of it. I couldn't put it down. This is probably the fastest run that I read out of everything in it because I just loved it. I couldn't put it down. It was a physical read as well. Yeah. This is what happens. I wait, and then I forget what things are about, and I can't really talk about them. I just, vibes. I loved it. It was great. Fantastic. What was that quote? You know, I love it. Give me 14 more. There is one more, and I'm hoping I will read it very soon. Next up, I did on audiobook was Little Threats by Emily Schultz. This was a book, what's the prompt I used for this one was a genre that I don't usually read, and it is a murder mystery. I received this book, my sister did games at my baby shower, and this was one of the prizes. She had like random gifts, like packaged, so you couldn't tell what was in them, and that was one of them. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever read this because it's like a mystery book, and that's not really my vibe, but it's starting to be my vibe, and I loved it. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was constantly listening to this audiobook everywhere that I was going. I was guessing who the murderer was, and I was texting my husband. I was like, hey, I'm on chapter this, and I think based on this evidence, this is who the killer is, and this is why they did the killing. I was correct, and I just want to say that. I don't think it was obvious. There was many suspects. I just think I'm that good. I don't know. I'm gonna be a little delusional, and I'm gonna believe that I am just that good. It could all be laid out. I don't know. But I absolutely loved it. It was great. The narrator was really good too. It's told by multiple points of view because we have the main character, her twin sister, and their dad, and then another guy who is the sister of the guy that was murdered, or the brother of the guy that was murdered, and then another guy who was also a suspect. So we have 5 different points of view, but for the most part, like it's not hard to figure out who we're talking to or who we're listening to. So it was fine, but I loved it. 5 stars. Next up, I know this one was a favorite for a lot of people, was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I did really like it. It was nice and cozy. I loved it. Except it was just missing that oomph, so I only gave it a 4-star. I don't know why. It put me to sleep a lot, and I don't think that was anything wrong with the book. I just would read it right before bedtime, and it is very slow and cozy. The ending was great. I loved the ending. And I think I would have never rated it anything lower than 4 stars. It was a great book, and it's beautifully written. And I loved just the imagery of the whole thing. It was, I was expecting like a more of a spring vibe. It's a very winter vibe. They are in, I'm gonna do it again, Scotland, Ireland, maybe not even that, maybe Switzerland. I don't remember where they are. But it's snowing the entire time. And it's got a festive vibe to it almost. I don't know, but it is great. And I gave it a 4 stars. So it is still a very beautiful book. Just because I didn't give it 5 stars. That's my thing with 5 stars. Is that I have to feel that oomph. Like 4 stars are fantastic books. They are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them. But it's not a book that I'm just gonna like think about for the rest of forever. 5 stars, like I'm still thinking about it months later. The other book that we did finish, the last book in the Trials of Apollo, almost said in the Tower of Nero series, and the Trials of Apollo series, which is called the Tower of Nero. This was the final book. It wrapped everything up nicely, and it was great. And I just said, no, I did give this one 4 stars. So like all of the Rick Riordan books have been between 4 and 5 stars. If they really, really are good, or if I had some feels, then I'll give it a 5. Otherwise, it's a 4. So, like, the fact that somebody important died in the 4th one, I gave it a 5 because I was in the feels. But yeah, so we are done with the Trials of Apollo, and I think instead of going into one of the other Riordan series, we're going to take a break from the Riordanverse, and we're going to do some Star Wars. But I guess we will see when I talk about my January TBR. Soon, hopefully. But now we have reached the last book, and which I said at the beginning of the video, I still have about 30, as of filming this, I have about 30 pages left of this. But I don't think anything in these last 30 pages is going to change my mind. Then I'm only going to give this a 3 star. I do want to know how it ends. It's Hera by Jennifer Saint. I do want to know how it ends, so I am going to finish it. So it is going to be a 3 star. However, nothing, I don't think that's going to happen in the last 30 pages is going to change my mind on it being a 4 star. It's not. This is going to be a 3 star for me. I started off reading it as an audiobook. And my problem is, I am sitting in an awkward position and my legs are falling asleep. My problem is that the narrator, I'm assuming, and I'm hoping that they are the actual Greek pronunciations of some of these names. Like Demeter. I've heard Demeter pronounced as Demeter. So that one didn't bother me as much. But then Ares was Ares. Not Ares. Something like that, with a nice little accent. No, his name is Ares. And then Athena was Athena. So much so that I didn't even realize she was talking about Athena until our Ares was born. And then I realized, wait, I thought she was talking about a completely different god. And then Oceanus, well, it wasn't bad. That one was Oceanus instead of, like that one's not bad. That's fine. Hecate was just Hecta. Who else bothered me? She said Hephaestus correctly. Gaia was Gaia. Rhea instead of Rhea. And again, these could all be the actual Greek pronunciations, and I've grown up listening to the American pronunciations, which someone told me that we just like to use the E a lot. Totally fair. It just was throwing me off, and I couldn't do it anymore. So, after I finished the audiobook, what was I doing on audio? What did I have on audio? No, that's not what I meant. After I finished Encyclopedia of Fairies, I switched over to reading the ebook of Hera, and it's going a little faster. But it's a story we all know. Like, it's not anything new, we're not adding anything. It's Hera. She gets pissed that her husband is man-horning it up around the world, and he's producing all these children, and she's the goddess of marriage. Like, way to be a giant slap in the face. In fact, on top of the fact that he, like, gave her that title, right? She is just as much, like, she's on the same level as him and her brothers and her sisters. These children all should have the same power, but no, the guys got the good ones. And then, like, Hestia and Demeter, they chose theirs. They were like, hey, let me have this. This will be what I'm god of. I just ask one thing. Don't ever make me get married. And they were like, sure, why not? Whatever, fine. And then Zeus was like, but I want you to be my wife. And on top of that, if you really think you need, like, a title other than, like, Queen of the Gods, you can be the goddess of marriage. But I'm not. That's not my job. That's not my title. So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go have a bunch of babies with mortals. We know this story already. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you know Hera and everything that she did to try to get back at Zeus. So, like, it's nothing new. It's nothing... I've only ever read one other thing by Jennifer Saint, and that was Ariadne. I did enjoy Ariadne, mainly because of the fact that I didn't know her story. I think that's part of the problem, is that I already know Hera's story, and she's not, like, the most likable person. Even though I totally understand. Like, she gets to be a bitch when her husband is Zeus. Like, I get it. I don't care. So, like, part of me is just like, I'm going to DNF it, but I don't. I got 30 pages left. I'm going to finish it. So, that's where we are. Overall, great books. I had so many 4 stars. The only, like, sore thumbs was Hera, and then, what was it? What the heck was it called? The Temptation of Magic. I almost said The Enchantment of Magic. The Temptation of Magic were the only ones that were not great. They were 3 stars. But, hey, they weren't 2 stars, and I didn't DNF anything, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I don't know how to do, like, 2 months at a time as a filter, so I'm not even going to worry about stats. We know that we read this many books. A lot, you know, majority of 5 and 4 star reads. Lots of fantasy. Lots of fantasy. Mainly fantasy. The only thing that wasn't fantasy was Little Threats. That was definitely not fantasy. There was just a guy that decided to murder a girl. But yeah, other than that, it was fantasy, magical realism, mythology. Those are my niches. I am going to do a whole nother video on my goals for the year. It'll probably be wrapped up in, like, my reading journal video. But basically, one of mine is maybe get out of my comfort zone a little. Maybe read some things that aren't fantasy and magical realism. See what else is out there. But yeah, anyways, so that's going to wrap up this very rambling long video about the books that I read in November and December. I didn't talk about my favorite. My favorite for each month. My favorite book from December was probably... that is a tough call. Because surprisingly... no, I think I'm going to give it to The Gifts That Bind Us by Caroline O'Donoghue. Like, Little Threats is, like, right there behind it. But I think I'm going to give it to The Gifts That Bind Us. And then for November, it's, again, another, I gave so many 5 stars, but I think I'm going to give it to Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. Great story. He doesn't miss. It was fantastic. So those are going to go, and then they're going to compete, and I'm going to figure out what the heck my top 10 of the year was, because it's the last day of the year, and I haven't figured that out, really. I know what my favorite is. And I think I've talked about it in a wrap-up, and how nothing has surpassed it yet. But I guess we shall see when I do that video. But that'll be I'll wrap up this video here, because it's just been a whole lot of babbling. Hopefully somebody watches this, enjoys it, and gets some nice recs. If you did watch this, and you see something that you want to read, because I said it was awesome, tell me about it in the comments below. If you've read some of these books, if you liked one of the ones that I was dogging on, please let me know. And tell me, hey, I love that book and you're wrong. And that's fine, because books are subjective, and you're allowed to like what you like and not like what you don't like. It is what it is. But yeah, what was your favorite book in November or December or whatever? If you don't want to tell me anything, you just want to stick an emoji down at the bottom so that I know that you're here, leave me a stack of books. That's the order those words go in. A stack of books down in the comments below. Other than that, we're going to wrap it up here. So if you like this video here, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, as well as the big red subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're always notified every time that I upload it. And until next time.